The Shakedown by Will Weissbaum. Keeping one hand on the controls, Berkeley leaned over and grabbed the small packet of food he had tucked underneath the radar display panel. He'd learnt over the years of pulling long hauls that with MREs you don't want to eat them hot like the instructions on the back recommended. That just made the flavours more pronounced. The only thing worse than crap was steaming crap. Eating them room temp wasn't good either. Sure, the flavour was dulled, but the texture wound up somewhere around chewing on a damp sock. Nope. The best option was to gently warm them to around 62 degrees C, i.e., the exact same temperature that his outdated and prone to overheating radar display generally operated at. Unwrapping the ready meal packet, the concentrated aroma of, well, he didn't know any better way to describe it other than intensely brown, hit him directly in the face. Why did it have to be a beef chunk day? He always told himself that he should stop buying the bargain variety pack. It was a lot cheaper, but it invariably ended with him having to force down 3 packs of the beef chunk flavour at the end of the month. All that scraping and saving was going to finally pay off, though. Berkeley thought about just ignoring his gnawing hunger, but with a deal this big he couldn't risk being distracted and irritable. His original plan had been to treat himself to a nice meal and celebration after his payday came through, but sitting in one of ArcCorp's notorious traffic jams with no sign of budging made the beef chunks the only option. The local Spectrum had been quiet so far on the cause of the backup, but he wasn't too surprised when the alert had first sounded. ArcCorp always seemed to have twice as many landing accidents as any other port of call he visited. A big part of that was due to the sheer number of ships that made their way to the planet every day. More ships, more accidents. Though Berkeley thought that the flight path changing almost every time he visited thanks to a couple more skyscrapers being erected was probably equally to blame. He quickly shoved a large bite into his mouth and distracted himself from the taste by glancing towards the horizon where the skyline of Area 17 beckoned. He was tempted to try his luck landing there instead, but he resisted. Heading there now would mean being placed all the way at the back of the landing queue, and he'd burned enough time already. Plus, his fuel supply was down to almost vapours. Another thing he intended to correct once he got paid. No, better to stay the course and stick it out at Area 18. Plus, now that the acrid black smoke billowing up from the wreck site had begun to clear, Berkeley hoped that air traffic control would start allowing more ships through soon. Just then, 2 ships rocketed past his holding position towards the wreck, their reg tags alerting everyone in the vicinity that they were Blackjack security. He involuntarily tensed at the sight of their flashing lights. That explained what was taking so long. If Blackjack was involved, this wasn't just some hullbender. The company provided most of the security on ArcCorp, so it was safe to say that whatever had gone down was likely of a more sinister nature. Maybe a theft gone wrong or a particularly bold smuggler. Whatever it was, he didn't like being around this kind of scene. Another Blackjack ship flew past. He might be stuck here even longer than he had originally thought. Reaching over, he reconnected to the local network and refreshed the TDD alert again. His heart sank right along with the trend line on his screen. Just in the time spent sitting here, the dozens of cargo crates stored in his hold had decreased in value. Though Berkeley had accurately predicted that the price of Agricium would skyrocket on ArcCorp after a component manufacturer announced that they were increasing production at their factory here, it seemed that the market's peak had already come and gone. Even with the buy rate still near the record high, his chance for real profit was rapidly closing. Not that his margins were that big to begin with. He didn't have time to shop around if he wanted to take advantage of the situation, and so he had paid way too much for the Agricium in the name of expedited acquisition. Berkeley had bet pretty much every credit he had to his name, plus a pretty sizable loan, on being able to unload before the bubble burst. After a year of living hand to mouth, barely scraping by, he was ready for something to work out in his favour. His last big trade was when he had correctly guessed that Sakura Sun's Little Morps were going to be the must-buy Citizen's Day gift of that year. His rear hatch still had a dent from when the parent had flown off the rails after learning Berkeley had sold out of the popular Mr. Tintel figures. That success should have easily been parlayed into even more, but a couple missed deals, several hundred spoiled bilva, 2 major engine malfunctions, and his very unpleasant misunderstanding with the advocacy last year had left him worse off than when he started. The chunk of gristle he was currently trying to chew his way through served as an excellent reminder of that. It had been hard staying optimistic after basically having to rebuild his life almost from scratch, but trading had given him something to focus on. If you kept yourself open to opportunity, you could exchange one thing for something better. That's what he was trying to do with his life. This deal today would net him enough to pay off most of his debt and outstanding legal fees. With that cleaned up, everything else could be put back into growing his business. Maybe even finding someone to fly with. Maybe even buying a better brand of MREs, he thought as he forced another bite. Before he could swallow the chunk, Area 18's ATC chirped into his comm. Tossing the half-finished packet of food onto the empty co-pilot seat, he snapped open the channel. "Go for Goodhaven." "Hey, Goodhaven, got you cleared to land," informed the weary traffic controller. "Pad 206. "Fantastic," said Berkeley, his enthusiasm more than making up for the controller's massive apathy. "Could you also go ahead and send 4 or 5 cargo handlers my way? I'm in a bit of a rush." "Well, you picked a pretty terrible day to be in a rush. Won't be able to spare anyone for at least another hour." Berkeley did some quick calculations in his head. How many credits to spare some people sooner? "Out of my hands. We've got a full Hull E unloading and Blackjack commandeered most of our handlers to deal with their mess, so it's going to take a lot more than credits to make a lick of difference. Best I can do right now is have a bot sent to your pad. Anything more than that, and you'll just have to wait." The cargo transfer drones were normally fine, but thanks to stringent safety protocols, they weren't the best option when you were hoping to empty a hold PDQ. For that, you needed good old-fashioned human disregard for safety. "Yeah, the bot'll have to do. Proceed with caution and enjoy your stay on ArcCorp," the traffic controller intoned before killing the channel. Berkeley tapped his nav and brought landing pad 206 up onto his screen. Tilting the stick forward, he felt the thrusters grab hold as he carefully merged into the stream of ships heading down to the surface. The controls were sluggish from the weight of a full hold, a reminder to be extra careful. Before him, the messy urban patchwork below slowly resolved into a complicated grid of factories and warehouses as he approached. Sometimes you hear humanity compared to a virus. Seeing the overwhelming sprawl of ArcCorp made Berkeley think that comparison wasn't too far off. He adjusted his course and headed into the heart of Area 18, a dense forest of towering skyscrapers. His focus fought against the assault of flashing lights and billboards that lined the buildings. Steering around a tower, a 50-story tall hologram of a woman waited on the other side. She helpfully squeezed a roll of bath tissue before transforming into a giant animated box of noodles. Where other worlds might have shown restraint out of safety concerns, ArcCorp fully embraced its consumerism with both arms. There was no mistaking that ArcCorp was created in a boardroom by a bunch of executives. Nearly everything on the surface of the planet was dedicated to industry and the generation of credits. Almost as soon as his landing struts touched down on the pad, Berkeley was out of his seat. Lowering the cargo hatch, he was pleased to find the drone waiting there. He was not pleased that it was an outdated model, probably older than he was. Unloading his ship was going to take even longer than he had estimated. Reflexively, he checked the TDD status again. The downward trend was picking up pace. How many other traders were here unloading Agresium right now? At this rate, by the time the cargo was off the ship and into the bonded storage, he was pretty much guaranteed to lose money. "Hey, you looking for some help?" Berkeley turned to see a woman approaching him. She looked like she had seen better days, but he imagined she was probably thinking the same thing with how worn and stained his jacket was. "You with landing services?" Berkeley asked. "More or less." The response triggered Berkeley's suspicious side. "How much less?" "Listen, Stack and I are just trying to make a few honest creds. You don't want the help? That's fine. We can go." Berkeley was about to ask who Stack was when he spotted the other woman approaching the pad in a full loader suit. From her controlled gait, he could tell that she knew what she was doing. He did some quick estimates. With the drone going full speed and these two coordinating, he bet he could get the whole ship unloaded and bonded by the time he got to the TDD. He knew that he should be wary of strangers, but on the other hand, maybe it was time that he finally caught a break today. Besides, he could appreciate people hustling to make an honest living for themselves. They made formal introductions all around, and after a brief haggling session, he transferred Kamari and Stack half the agreed-upon price, the rest to be sent when they finished. It pained him to have so very few funds left in his bank account, but as soon as Berkeley saw how quickly they finished clearing the first pallet, he knew the credits had been well spent. This might just work out. Even the bot wasn't as slow as he feared. With his precious cargo in good hands, he left them to it and headed towards customs.
Tobii eye trackers are on sale with 15% off until the 3rd of July. They are natively supported in Star Citizen, giving you precision head and eye tracking that can help with immersion, as well as adding another level of control to your toolset. It's a cool piece of tech that you can use for streaming and seeing where your eyes are going, and loads of other games are supported too. Check out my links below to get one of those at discount.
Let me tell you a story from the book of NordVPN/BoredGamer. There were 3 little pigs who all needed internet access. One used a VPN made of straw, one used a VPN made of wood, and one used NordVPN, which is basically bricks in this analogy. Along came an elite hacker wolf and smashed up the houses of the first 2 piggly wigglies, but was unable to breach the NordVPN house, which is just much better than straw or wood for protecting you from internet things like wolves and hackers. The moral of this story is get nordvpn.com/boredgamer or click the links below for powerful discounts that might make your friends think you are an internet wizard or something.
Also, that wolf went to prison for 10 years on an unrelated crime. Maybe it was like not liking or subscribing or something? Every month we have a ship giveaway for June 2023. That's going to be for an RSI Constellation Andromeda. This hybrid cargo gunship is perfect for small crews of up to 4. It comes with a P-52 Merlin snub fighter as well, along with lifetime insurance and game access. All you need to start playing Star Citizen. And all you have to do to be in for a chance of winning that is comment on any of my videos made during the month. More details in the video description below. If you would like to further support the channel, please consider pressing the join button under my videos for exclusive membership to the channel, or become a Patreon. I've already got a load of lovely people that do that, and it really goes a long way in allowing us to make daily content. Thank you so much to my channel members and Patreons, but thank you so much for just liking, subscribing, commenting, and watching my videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the verse.